we're going to chat about a fitness test, a standardised test that you developed last year in the absence of an official national one. And it'll be a good way for people to get a sense of where they are at the moment. And it's very doable at home. So let's kick things off. You've got the targets and the minimums and the average. We're going to start with the stand on one leg test. Helpfully, these test names do pretty close to what they say in the tin, so it's not going to be difficult for people to remember, and we'll put all this up on the website as well. But the stand on one leg with your eyes closed test, in effect here, what you're getting people to do is cross their arms and stand in their preferred leg, hold for 30 seconds with their eyes open first of all, but you want them ultimately to measure how long they can do it, Niall, with their eyes closed.
Correct. Well, really, there shouldn't even be a trial run. You just stand up, cross your arms across your chest, lift your leg up, one leg up. So you're standing on one leg, close your eyes and see how long you can hold that. I would say, for the average 30 to 40-year-old male, it's 7 seconds, and the same for females. I would say the average, if you just did it with no practice, would be less than 2 seconds. We wouldn't be with nowhere near what would be expected because we don't practice it. We don't practice our balance. So how are you going to be good at something if you don't practice it? But it's amazing how quickly, you can get better at this. And we find that people who did yoga and we do these tests on, they do much better because they practice, one leg maneuvers and taekwondo and some of these other martial arts sports as well. So again, it's a very, very simple test to do because back to what I said earlier on, if you're walking down the street and you fall, you get one chance. You got to, be able to correct yourself. So doing these balancing exercises, people think, sure, that's not important, balance. But as we get older, it becomes the risks of falls and fractures in elderly people is a huge risk for both morbidity and mortality. So it's very, very important. At a young age, we start developing and working and maintaining good balance.
Okay, so I'll just read out some of these figures. You sent this on to me very helpfully. So for anyone listening, if you're in your 20s and you're male, 8 seconds is the average with your eyes closed, balancing on one leg. If you're female, it's also 8 seconds. Actually, this is one of the few tests where it's regardless of gender. So in your 20s, 8 seconds. In your 30s, 7 seconds. In your 40s, 6 seconds. 50s, 5 seconds. In your 60s, 4 seconds. 70s, 3 seconds. Over 80, 2 seconds. And so that's an average, is it? And I presume you would like to think that if someone did it semi-routinely, they'd start hitting some decent numbers.
Without a doubt, you'd be hitting 20 and 30 seconds. Okay. Because you develop this proprioception, you develop the ability to, and you develop the little tendons and muscles around that area, and your perception of where you are in time and space also improves. It's like any motor skill. If you practice it, you're going to improve.
Okay. Press-ups then. So we're testing strength here, upper body strength. Males do full press-ups in this test and females do the modified press-ups.
Yes, and the modified press-ups is done so you have the knees slightly behind your hips, and you're pushing then onto your arms. And again, we have standards here. And again, the standards decrease. Obviously, the number that would be expected would decrease as you age. So for males, in their 20s, you're talking about, a minimum of 21. These are all minimum scores now. So a minimum of 21. By the time you get to your 80s, you're looking to do a minimum of 4. And that's what would be expected. You're losing muscle mass and strength as we age. And that's the minimum. I've seen 80-year-olds doing 20 of these. So they're well capable of it. And then in women, you start, with 14 in their 20s. The time to get to your 40s, 10 is the minimum. In your 60s, it's 4. And then in your 80s, it's 2. And there again, the important point is they're minimum standards. Yeah. If you don't achieve those, you're certainly in trouble.
And this isn't without a time limit. This is just go till exhaustion.
Yes, and there's lots of accumulating evidence now that people, what's strength got to do with, how long I'm going to live and how healthy I am? It's a really good test of your overall functional capacity. There was a wonderful study done about 3 years ago in firefighters in America, and they found that the firefighters who could do more than 30 push-ups had a 95% reduction in their risk for cardiovascular disease compared to those who couldn't do 30 push-ups. Right. So it's a really good, robust test of your overall functional capacity. And a lot of men will be very surprised and disappointed. A lot of people think, so that's easy. I could easily do 12 push-ups. But to do 12 standard push-ups and to do them correctly, if you don't do it regularly, that can be quite an onerous task.
Yeah, well, actually, do them correctly is a very good point to make here. No cheating. Do the presses properly. Get that chest down. Get those elbows bent. Arms parallel with the ground, because we can all do the fake ones. So I'll just give the numbers again.
Yeah. And just to say on that,
yes.
sorry, Joe. Just to say on that, when you're doing the push-ups, particularly the men, you should be able to put a glass of water on your back, and it shouldn't move. So your back remains dead flat. That tells you you're doing it correctly. Okay,
well, that's a good tip. So, in your 20s as a male, your minimum, and we're stressing minimums here, so this could be a wake-up call. In your minimum, in your 20s, male, 21 full press-ups, female, 14. Then when you go into your 30s, 16 male push-ups, females 12. Into your 40s, males should be able to do 12, females 10. Into your 50s, males should be able to do 9 minimum and 6 minimum for females. Into your 60s, 7 minimum, 4 minimum for women. And into your 70s, males should be able to do 5 minimum and females 3 minimum. Look, I stress the word minimum. Like, I'm in my 30s. Don't plan on getting down and do it for you now. But like, if I could only do 16 push-ups, I'd be desperately worried. Like, what would, say, you're saying 16 there is the minimum for male in his 30s. I'd be wanting to do 40 or 50 before you'd be saying, okay, you're in decent shape, I presume. Or what's a good upper number?
I mean, it's a bit unfair to be giving upper numbers here for any age group. Look, the more you can do beyond the 16, obviously, the better the shape that you're actually in.
Okay.
Look, this is like going to the doctor and getting a blood test, or any sort of getting a CAT scan. This is your fitness scan. And this is telling you you're 16, you're in the red zone. If you get below 16, you're in the red zone.
Okay.
And maybe 16 to 20, you're in the amber zone. And maybe above 25, now you're getting into the green zone. So think about it in those terms, because people are going to have different body shapes and body sizes and different genetic predispositions. So it's very unfair to put an upper number, but certainly you should be meeting the minimum criteria. And people might think, well, it's only 5 in your 70s. For a 70, 80-year-old to do 5 push-ups, to get down on the ground, number one, and to do the push-ups, for many of them, it's unimaginable, And the issue is that does not have to happen. By doing this regularly throughout our life, we can get into our 80s and our 90s and be functionally active, be easily able to do 10 push-ups if we continue to do it throughout our life.
Okay, so that's the upper body strength test. Lower body strength test, again, you've devised this, it's great. It's in a way that people can do this at home very, very easily. This is sitting on a chair. It's the sit to stand test. So you can explain what you want people to do. And this is a timed one, unlike the push-ups, which is push till exhaustion. This is how many you can do within 30 seconds. So what do you want people to do here? Just pull out the kitchen chair for starters.
Yeah, ideally a chair without handles. So you can't use the handles. And again, what you do is you put your hands across your chest, stand with your backside to the chair, and you go down until your backside is just on the chair, and then straight back up. But your legs must be straight when you come back up. So the only thing you can use, you can't use your arms. The only thing you're using are your legs. And you time how many you can do. And obviously, either time it yourself, but again, have a mirror in front of you to make sure that the technique is right. Because, well, you're only cheating yourself. So again, good technique is important. And when you're doing it the first time and you do poorly, but at least you know you had good technique. So the next time you come back and you improve, well, you know that's really an improvement because I didn't cheat the first time. So it's very, very important you do it correctly. And again, this is, lower body strength. And I've said many times, there are lots of telltale signs that we're losing our lower body strength. If walk down a flight of stairs and hold on to the handrails, that tells us that our balance is poor and we're probably losing strength in our legs. Walk up a flight of stairs and hold on to the rails, tying your shoe, lifting your foot up. All of these are all telltale signs. Or using your hand to get up of a chair. They're all telltale signs, and you probably will not do very, very well on this test if you're using all of those aids to perform those daily tasks.
Yeah.
So again, extremely important to be able to perform activities of daily life that we maintain our lower body strength.
Yeah. No, worryingly, I've started making noises when I get out of chairs, which is a real sign of age, unfortunately, of late now. So to give people the minimums again, in 30 seconds, again, this is a 30-second one. So in your 20s as a male, you should be able to get up and down 24 times, as a female 23 times. In your 30s, male up and down 22 times, female 21 times. So not a great disparity here in the genders. In your 40s, up and down 20 times as a male, 19 times as a female. In your 50s, 18 times as a male, 17 times as a female. In your 60s, 16 times as a male and 15 times as a female. Into your 70s, up and down 14 times as a male, 13 times as a female. And if you're over 80, if you can get up and down 10 times either gender, male and female, then you're above the minimum. So that's a good one to test lower body strength. The next one, from our conversation last year, I remember you saying that this is almost the most indicative test of them all as to where you are. This is how far you can go in a 12-minute period.
Yeah, and look, this is a test of endurance, but in effect, it's a test of many of the other components as well. Because if you're physically strong, upper and lower body strength, you have good flexibility, it means that your overall health is in pretty good shape. And with this last test, it's a 12-minute, it's what distance you can cover in 12 minutes. You can run it, you can jog it, you can walk around it, you can walk it. It's entirely up to you. It's pacing yourself over the 12 minutes and really pushing yourselves. And this is the test that when you see on TV in the lab, when we put someone on the treadmill and we measure their maximal aerobic capacity. This test estimates that. And really, if you look at all the tests that we do, all the fitness tests, in fact, if you look at all the tests we do in medicine, clinical medicine, your number on this test is probably the best predictor of your current and your future health. It's as good as any scan, any blood marker, your cardiovascular fitness. And there's thousands of studies that clearly indicate that. So that's why this is such an important measure, because it tests the ability of your muscles, your heart, and your lungs. So it's this integrated measure of your overall functional capacity. Right,
okay. Well, that's great for people to know, because with all the advances in science, it's good to see that a good old-fashioned test like this will still give them a very good idea of where they are. So 12 minutes for men aged 20 to 29, men in their 20s, the marker you have down is 2.4k, and for women it's 2 kilometres. Into our 30s then, for men it's 2.3k in their 30s, for women it's 2k, same for women in their 20s and 30s, 2k in the 12 minutes. Into our 40s, men 2.2 kilometres in the 12 minutes is the marker, for women it's 1.9. Then into our 50s, 2.1k for men, 1.8 for women. Into our 60s, men 1.9k, women 1.7k. Into our 70s, 1.8k, women 1.6k. And then if you're over 80, for men 1.72k is the marker, and for women it's 1.5k. So they are the minimums. I don't have a strong sense of this. What's percentage-wise? I glance at the Irish adult population, Niall. When you're out and about, how many of us do you think would be hitting those minimums?
Probably 30%. For the younger age. As you get older, much less.
Right. So that suggests we are aging badly. That we're
well, there's no doubt about that. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. And we're no different to any other country in the world. And as I was sitting here, Joe, wouldn't it be a wonderful idea that if the country did these tests twice a year, and the government or someone would set up a portal that everyone could put their results into this, and all of a sudden within 2 years we would have standardized national norms for every age group in the country. That's how simple this would be, with a little bit of imagination. And I think people would love to engage with this. All you have to do is put in your age and your gender, and that's all you need, and then put in your results. I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I hope the Minister for Health and or Sport is listening. It's unbelievably simple idea.
I believe you're a phenomenal pull in the Department of Health and the Department of Education, so I'll be expecting you to have this on board now for next year.
Well, listen, I'll bring that up. That's such a simple and brilliant suggestion. To have that kind of data would be amazing and might be a wake-up call for all of us. Listen, this is great, and I suspect people will really get something out of it, and we'll put that information up on the OTB website as well, and on our social channels, and people can use this podcast as a refresher at any stage. It was a great chat throughout. Any final overarching point you want to make about where we are in 2022 as we set off in another year then?
I think we've got to stop the pessimism. It's every time we hear news, it's bad news. Look, we're not going to drop dead in the morning. There's lots of wonderful medicines now that can keep us alive. We don't have to exercise anymore. That's just the reality. But the benefits of it far outweigh the risks of exercising. And to the people listening, I say to them, any form of movement or activity, is better than none, and just try to make it part of your daily life.
Okay. Professor Niall Moyna, as ever, fountain of insight and information. It's much appreciated. Thanks so much, Niall. See you again soon.